Hello, everyone. We still have folks joining the webinar, so we will begin in just about a minute. Welcome, everyone, to our webinar, Essential Details Regarding IBM Maximo Application Suite Upgrades and End of Service Guidelines. I am Kat Poland, part of the marketing team here at Cohesive. Today, we will be providing critical insights as we approach the end of service for legacy IBM Maximo. This 60-minute webinar is being recorded, and we will send a link to it and a copy of the slide deck within 24 hours of the broadcast. We will be muting the phone lines throughout the presentation. If you have a question, and we do encourage them, please enter them into the question box field. Today's presenter is Trish Gosh, a Principal Sales Executive with Cohesive. She is a 25-year veteran of Maximo, beginning her journey in April of 1998 with PSDI. Sorry about that. During the time, she has represented both sales and consulting delivery, the latter where she spent 2/3 of that time as a senior functional consultant. And with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Trish.
Thank you, Kat. Can you hear me okay?
You sound great. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thanks for joining our session today. As Kat mentioned, I'm Trish Gosh, and I am going to be talking to you today about a couple of different things as it relates to support, end of support, mass upgrades, etc. All right, so first of all, for those of you who may not be familiar with us, from a Cohesive perspective, we are a Bentley Systems subsidiary. We are basically a consolidation of 9 separate companies, all with deep Maximo experience, as well as just overall asset management experience, right? We have, with the acquisition by Bentley, we have expanded our skill sets dramatically into the APM products and tool sets and capabilities. And you know, as far as with the consolidation, we're about 900 total Maximo consultants and APM consultants touching all 7 continents. All right, so the objectives for today are really kind of twofold. First off, we're going to talk about some of the new IBM support offerings, right? As Maximo Application Suite has matured and we start to see the transition away from the legacy Maximo 761, you know, IBM has evolved their support offerings, and we're going to talk about what those are, what the details are, what the support timelines are, and how this can impact you. I will pause after we talk about kind of the current state to allow for some questions, and then we'll get into what the future release cycles are going to look like. All right, so some key dates that most of you may be aware of, but just wanted to put them out here just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. So first of all, Maximo 7612, the end of support, IBM announced the end of support, which will be the end of next month, right? There will be a final interim fix for Maximo 7612 released next month. And then after that, basically IBM will only support 7613 moving forward. So if you haven't already started your mass upgrade, if you need a little bit of time before you begin that journey, moving to 7613 might be something that you want to look at. Now, with respect to 7613, back in April of 2022, IBM announced the end of support for basically all 761 versions, and that end of support will be September 30th, 2025. So beginning in next year, basically interim fixes will only be released for 7613. So again, if you're in 7612, your last release will be next month. Obviously, you'll want to start planning your upgrade to the IBM application suite, and the last interim fix for 7613 will be released in September of 2025. So post September 2025, you will have some support options that are available to you. And really it will vary based on what your current licensing entitlements are, whether you're on the traditional EAM licensing or whether you have in fact moved to application points. So those options are going to be, there's sustain and extended if you're on the traditional licensing, and or dual entitlement if you've already made the move to app points but haven't quite made the upgrade yet to the application suite. So I'm going to dive into these details next. All right, so for those of you, again, that are currently on traditional Maximo 7613 licensing, and by this, I'm talking about the full use users, the limited use users, and the express users. All of you may also have, you may have just core Maximo, you may have industry solutions. All of it applies. It's in terms of that traditional, what I refer to as that traditional licensing model. So, but based on this chart, and again, just reiterating, the end of support for Maximo 7613 will be September 30th, 2025. If you are still on the 7613 licensing, you will have two options available to you, and I'll get into the details about what's included with these on the next slide. So first of all, you will have what's called sustained support. And this is going to basically, it's going to be a new part number, and it's going to replace the traditional SNS support. It is available for up to 5 years after the 2025 date. So it is available until September 30th, 2030. Again, any fixed packs, et cetera, that will be available to you will be based on that EAM 7613 version. The support access, again, I'll get into more details, but fundamentally, it's really around usage and existing fixes only, and there will be no security fixes. In addition to sustained support, extended support is being offered by IBM, and that will be available for 1 year after the end of service date. So again, on the next chart, I've got a breakdown of what sustained support and extended support get you. One comment: in order to get extended support, you do need to purchase the sustained support as well. All right, so what is included? So the first column, where it says base support, this is your traditional support, right? This is what you will continue to get with 7613 through September 30th of 2025. So it's just the normal IBM Maximo SNS that they've always offered. Starting on October 1st, 2025, right, you will have the option for sustained support and or extended support, as I mentioned on the previous slide. You could, based on this chart, you can see what is included with each. So with both of them, you can call into IBM and still ask routine usage and how-to questions. You can call IBM and get basic troubleshooting. Maybe you're having an issue with something, not necessarily a bug, but just getting something to work properly. You'll have access to all of the documentation, tech notes, and other online product material. The standard service levels will apply. You will have again the ability to call in and have unlimited support tickets. As far as the providing existing code patches and fixes, if if something is fixed between now and September 30th, 2025, and you just haven't yet downloaded it, it will be available if you are on sustained support and or extended. Now, with the major difference between sustain and extended is that extended allows you to report critical SEV1 defects within that 12-month period following the initial end of support. All right. So what will not be included for either extended or sustained is IBM will not develop any new patches or iFixes. There will not be any proactive security fixes. There will not be any new features or enhancements, no new development on any new defects, and there will not be any supporting changes for third-party components. So for example, if you're on Oracle 19 and another Oracle version comes out, IBM is not going during this sustain and extended support period. IBM will not provide compatibility with that new version of that database. So from a cost perspective, sustained support will be an additional 10% over your current SNS costs, or the costs at the time that we get to September 30th. So for example, if you're, if that last year your support costs are $100,000 a year, right, it would be an additional 10%. So the cost to you to have sustained support would be $110,000. If you also want the extended support, then it would be an additional 20% off of that, and that would give you that ability to create those SEV1 defect issues. Now, back to the SEV1 defect issues, whether or not IBM provides a fix will be dependent on the complexity of the issue, right? So if you have a system down issue and you call them and they help you, they walk you through, you restart Maximo, you restart WebSphere, whatever it is you need to do, they help you, get it up and going, great, then you're covered. However, if you have a critical issue, whether or not they resolve it, again, really is, or provide a fix for it, I should say, is really going to be dependent on the complexity of the issue. So here, you guys should all be familiar with this. These are just the IBM support definitions, standard support. So from the critical perspective, there is, on this next slide, I've got a link down at the bottom here to these new support terms and conditions on IBM's website. But the key verbiage here is they will strive to provide a fix, providing that it's commercially reasonable efforts to do so. If we look at, if something that's relatively easy to fix, then IBM will likely provide a fix for it. However, if it's something that's much more involved, then the reality is IBM will probably advise you to upgrade. So case in point, if we all remember the Apache Log4j issue from a couple years ago, if another issue like that pops up, honestly, the chances of IBM providing a fix are pretty much nil. Right, that was quite an extensive fix that IBM had to put a lot of time, money, and resources towards. So, if there is another issue like that, again, the recommendation is likely going to be to upgrade. All right, so that what we just looked at for sustain and extended, that's available to you if your current entitlements are still on those traditional license types offered by IBM. Now, for those of you that are considering moving to application points or have already moved to application points, IBM, well, first of all, IBM has offered dual entitlement all along for these, for those of you that have already moved. Meaning you can call into support for either your 7.6, well, starting in January it'll be 7.613, or if you're also in the throes of upgrading to mass and you run into a bug or an issue, you can call into IBM and they'll provide support for both. So they will continue to provide this dual entitlement through September 30th, 2025. And then one thing that IBM recently announced is that they are extending the usage for 7613 for an additional 18 months through April 2027. So now, it is not going to be new fixes and things like that post September 30th, but you can still call in and get the usage, download documentation, etc. And this is included at no additional cost. So IBM is not, unlike, for the EAM parts where it's an additional 10%, IBM does not have any additional fees for this dual entitlement. It's all bundled in to your move to application points. So if we take a look at, again, what is included, same 12 coverage points that were available on the a couple slides ago, right? We've got our base support again for both mass and Maximo 7613 through September 2025. So again, if let's say you're on 7613, you run into a bug next June, you can call into IBM. They will, work with you to provide a fix for it. If you're upgrading to mass, you run into an issue, you call IBM support. They'll work with you to provide a fix for it. Now, beginning in October 1, 2025, right? So when the end of support for 7613 happens, this is what IBM has extended these for an additional 18 months. And fundamentally, it is exactly like sustain on the previous chart that I showed. So you get all of the top 6. If you do want the ability to report critical Sev1 defects for that first year, so October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2026, you can, we can help you out with that. Again, it will be an additional 20%, just like with the previous chart. But so again, the sustain equivalent, if you will, is included at no cost. All right, so I'd like to maybe pause there and take some questions before I dive into the new release schedule for Maximo Application Suite.
Okay, Trish, we do have a couple that have popped in. The first one is with 7612 last fix being at the end of this year. What is IBM's plan to support all current open cases regarding that release? How do you push IBM for support on showstopper bugs for 7613?
So as far as the 7612 question, I would like to not speak out of turn, and I wasn't anticipating that question. So for open cases, I will, Kat, if you can make a note, I will, I'll get back, or I'll reach out to IBM and ask what the strategy is for that.
Wonderful. And we actually, it's a fairly popular question. We've got a couple different people that have asked variations on that. So
okay.
For those folks asking about support options and accommodation on 7612, we will gather that and email that out to you with the rest of the questions. See, there is more of a statement. The problem with support is that it does not contain the security fixes, which is the main reasons to have support. Can you comment on that?
I agree with you 100%, right? It is, I think the lack of proactive security fixes is going to be the number one issues for customers, the number one issue for customers. For those that are required, especially required to deploy those, those security patches, in a timely manner. Again, IBM is with both sustain and extended. They will not be providing proactive security fixes. So if if it is critical that your organization stays up to date on security patches, then I would recommend to start looking at getting upgraded to Mass prior to September 30th, 2025. Just kind of a side note, we've got several upgrades in the works that we're working on today. And as far as duration, it really varies. We have some that are, estimated to be a, 4-month. We have others that are, that we had one that we finished that was, probably 12 to 14 months total, from start to finish. It's really going to depend on the complexity of your organization, the complexity of your Maximo deployment. Do you have lots of integrations? Do you have lots of customizations? Things like that. Other things that can influence, the timeline are you going to, if you currently are on-prem, are you going to continue with that strategy? If so, you're obviously with Mass and the new architecture, moving to Red Hat OpenShift, you're going to, there may be a learning curve for some of your folks. If your strategy is to move to cloud, a lot of that burden is taken away. And or, maybe, somewhere in the middle. We have customers that we're talking with about, just maybe doing a managed service with, where they do it on-prem, yet we, support their infrastructure, giving their teams more time to get up to speed on the new technology, be it a year, 2 years, 3 years, again, whatever the needs are. So.
Great. And the last question I can answer, we will be sending out this slide deck as well as a link to the recording of this presentation within 24 hours of the broadcast. And we will also dash off an answer of all of the questions that have been answered. We will send out a hard copy of those responses as well. Oh, someone just snuck a question in before we got moving forward.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, we're good on time, so keep going.
Update from 7612 going to .3. Do you have to go to app points?
No, great question, right? If you have the traditional license types, and you're currently active on support, you have the rights to download the 7613, various iFixes for it. So yeah, you do not have to move to app points to upgrade to 7613. However, to move to Maximo Application Suite, it is required to move to the new licensing model.
Okay, I think we're caught up on questions. We can go ahead with part 2.
All right, we are way ahead of schedule here. So, all right, let's see. So, the next few slides, I'm going to talk about the new harmonized release cycle. All right, and this is all related to Maximo Application Suite. So, IBM recently announced a new lifecycle policy support. So traditionally, IBM's always had the 5 and 3, right? So they support a major version for 5 years, and then you can do extended support for 3 years. They are now moving to a model that they refer to as a 3+1+3. So every major release of Mass will be supported for 3 years, fully supported. All right, and then up at the end of that 3-year period, the customers will have the option to purchase initial extended support for a period of 1 year, where again, different things are included at different levels. I'll get into those in just a moment. And then they can also, if needed, they can also purchase ongoing extended support for an additional 3 years. So now, for those of you considering going to IBM SaaS, you will, if you will need to, they might have slightly different cadences as far as the release cycles. So definitely work with your sales rep, with IBM, the IBM hosting team, to understand what those cadence cycles will be. So, excuse me. All right, so if we look at the roadmap for Maximal Application Suite, right? IBM just released, last quarter, they released Maximal Application Suite 8.11. So, and both 8.10 and 8.11, if you guys have already started this journey, are long-term support releases, and they will be supported up until, roughly call it, Q1, maybe very beginning of Q2 in 2026. So if you are not quite ready to, move to the next long-term support release, you can purchase that initial extended support for a 12-month period, and if needed, then you could purchase the ongoing extended support for another 36 months. By the way, IBM is modifying, starting next year, they're going to come out with a mass 9. All right, so it's not a major version. I mean, fundamentally it's really just an 8.12. However, they want to align all of the various, all the various products that are included in MAS. So, not only manage, but monitor, health, predict, visual inspection, et cetera. They want to align the numbering schemas to just to consolidate them, make it a little easier. I think a lot of customers have been a little challenged. Okay, with MAS 8.11, I need Manage 8.7, right, or 8.8, or whatever that version is. So again, they're just going to start with a MAS 9.0, starting, I don't know, probably at Q1, Q2 of 2024, and then all supporting products, or all products within the application suite and add-ons, they're going to align to that release version as well. So again, MAS 9.0 is due out next year, and then a year later we'll have the introduction of 9.1. Year later, 9.2, so on and so forth. And with each major version, again, it will be supported for 3 years, and then you'll have 1 year of initial extended support as an option, and as well as 3 years of ongoing extended support as an option. Now, one thing, the red boxes you see here, these are milestone channels that IBM is going to release as well. So basically, a milestone channel is an opportunity for Maximal Application Suite customers to explore incremental features that are being released within each of those milestone channels in a non-production environment, right? So each milestone will be a subset of functions that will eventually be included to form the next release. Again, you can choose to subscribe to these milestone channels for a non-production instance. Initially, the target is for these milestone updates to be quarterly. However, the delivery cadence may evolve to be a bit more frequent than that. Also, the milestone naming will identify the future release that it's part of. So, for example, the milestone channel that's going to come out with 9.0, it'll be, like a pre-release for 9.1. And then, if those are, for what it's worth, again, they are designed for non-production environments. it's as is support. If an issue is identified, then it will be resolved in that following milestone release. So again, it's a good way for you to start to think about, maybe you'll deploy 9.0 and you start to look at the milestone channels for 9.1, and you can decide, whether or not that's functionality that you'd really like to have, or if you just want to wait, until 9.2 comes out before you start your mass upgrade. So, all right, breaking down, so similar chart as to what we saw earlier. And this is for this extended, the initial extended or the ongoing extended support. Fundamentally, ongoing is the same as sustain that we saw in the previous chart, and initial extended is the same as extended in the previous chart. So it shows what is covered. Again, first year after that end of service, that 3-year end of service mark, and then the ongoing that you can continue for 3 years after that. Again, just like before, big issue are these security fixes, right? So basically, within each major release, after that 3-year support ends, they will not be providing any proactive security fixes. So you'll definitely want to think about and strategize for the new cadence and the new release cycles. All right, so some key takeaways from just today's presentation, right? Just a reminder, end of service 7612 is December 31 of this year. 7613 end of support will be September 30th, 2025. There are support options available to you post September 30th, and it really will vary based on your current entitlements or your entitlements at the time we get to September 30th, 2025, right? So if you're going to upgrade next year to app points or the beginning of 2025, you will have you'll have different options. Basically the dual support will cover you. If you want to do the extended support, it would be extra for the app points. And again, on both, just you guys already hit on it in your questions. No proactive security patches after September 30th, 2025. As far as the Maximo application suite, the new lifecycle policy, it's a 3+1+3. Major releases are supported for 3 years, and then you have the option of initial and/or ongoing extended support. So with that, I am going to open it up to questions here in just a second. But if you have any questions, you want to talk through something a little further, maybe you want to bring in some other people from your organization for a separate call, happy to work with you on that. Here is my contact information. All right, and with that.
Okay, so we do have a couple more questions that have popped up. The first one is, it's an upgrade question. Do you have to go from 7612 to 13 and then mass, or can you jump from 7612 directly to mass?
You can actually, the answer is no. And actually you just reminded me, there was a bullet that I probably didn't mention. EAM customers on 7.6.0.10, 7.6.1.2, and 7.6.1.3 will be able to directly upgrade to Mass 9 when it comes out next year. So if, however, you're starting your journey now and you're going to deploy 8.11, you do, I believe you do have to upgrade to, you have to be at least on 7.6.1.2 in order to go to Mass 8.11. However, starting with 9, for those of you that are on 7.6.0.10, there will be a path for you to go straight to 9.
Okay, so just to clarify, if you have, do you have to be on Mass 8 before you can upgrade to Mass 9?
No, no.
Okay.
So,
Is Mass 9 a technical upgrade or a functional upgrade?
so when IBM first released the Maximo application suite, I would say for the first 2 years, it was really, for what it's worth, it was really 7612 under the hood, right? They have this year, and really the past 12 months, maybe 15 months, we've started to see some new features, new enhancements, things like that. So, um, yeah, I mean, as far as Mass 9, it's really an 8.12. It's going to have new features, new enhancements, new functionality. Again, the whole shift to Mass 9 is to calling it 9 is really just to get away from the mix of versioning, like, here I need Mass 8.11 versus Manage 8.8, right? So they're just aligning all of the part numbers. But so yeah, so it's depending on what version you're on today. So say, for example, if you are on, excuse me, 7.6.1.2.1.3, either one, and you decide to move to Mass next year, and you're going to start with Mass 9, obviously you're going to have that technical shift, right? Moving towards the Red Hat OpenShift, moving away from your traditional, Windows deployments. So it is going to be a major technical shift for you. But then you'll also, with Mass 9, you're also going to get the new features that are available in Mass 9. So now if you're on, let's say you're on 8.9 today, Mass 8.9, and you want to upgrade to 9, you're not going to have that technical shift that those not on Mass are going to have. Now it's going to be all about enhanced capabilities, functions, features that are offered in the application suite.
So what would your recommendation for future upgrades? Do 8.11 LTS with only a couple of years support, or wait for 9? Is there a 9 LTS yet?
It's not out yet. It's, as I understand it, it's supposed to be released Q2, sometime in Q2 of next year. It's a hard question. I think I guess it might partially depend on how complex your current Maximo implementation is. If it's fairly simple, I mean, you're no Java customizations, maybe only a few integrations, things like that, then maybe you could start on 8.11. Not sure, where you're at in that upgrade project cycle, but if 9.0 comes out while you're doing 8.11, I mean, we had this with one of our the bigger upgrade that I mentioned just a little bit ago. I think they started out on, gosh, I want to say it was Mass 8.5 or 8.6, and eventually what went live was Mass 8.9. So I mean, it's during the upgrade themselves, they applied the different releases. So it's not unheard of. It might impact, I mean, probably the biggest impact is going to be your regression testing, right? So if you do the majority of your regression testing on 8.11, obviously you're going to want to repeat that if you decide to go live with 9.0. So I guess it's kind of a non-answer, a non-discrete answer. There's some variables. Happy to, if you want to give me a shout, happy to talk through it further. We can talk through the details of what you have deployed and how complex it is and what would be the best path.
Okay, so the next question is actually more of a statement.
Okay.
A 3-year cycle means that you really only get 2 years of support unless you go bleeding edge.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
Okay.
Obviously, I agree.
Are security patches still available for 7.17612 until September of 25?
No.
Okay.
Not 1.2. They will be available for 1.3, but end of support for 7612 is the end of next month, December 31st, 2023.
If a user is on 7.6.1.2, does it make sense to just wait to upgrade to 9 and skip 8? That was just the same question you just answered, I believe.
Yeah, you know, again, I'm just gonna, it just depends on the complexity, but I mean, there's every upgrade, right? You've got your various iterations of testing that you have to do. So if you go 7613, you're gonna have to do that testing. If you go 9, you're gonna have to do that testing. 9 will probably be a little additional effort, right? Getting the new infrastructure set up. So not sure, like as far as budgets and whatnot, but I don't know. I guess if all said and done, I'd probably say wait till 9 and just you know, just start with that. Now that having been said, I am going to put the caveat that if you're on 7612, and I'm just picking a month here. Let's say 9 comes out in May of 2024. You're going to be 4 months without security patches, right, for 7612. So you got to weigh that also as part of the overall equation.
Okay. It doesn't look like we have any more questions at the moment. So if you wanted to go ahead and wrap up your thoughts, we'll see if anyone chimes in.
Yeah, I think, you know, thank you guys for attending. It's, you know, it's obviously lots of things, you know, lots of moving parts right now. And I think, you know, once everyone gets up to mass, it will help stabilize things. So.
Oh, I did just get another question in.
Okay.
Can you ask IBM if there is a no-go bug we can find for 7613 upgrade? Will they provide security patches for 7612? So I'll get that to you, and you can send that off to IBM.
Okay, yeah, I might need a little additional clarity on that one. So yeah, if you can, Kat, if you can send that to me, I'll reach out to whoever just asked that. I don't see the chat open. So I'll reach out separately and we can talk a little bit further. So I make sure to ask IBM the right question.
Wonderful. Okay. So everyone, I want to thank you all for attending. We will send a link to the recording of this session and a copy of the slide deck within 24 hours of broadcast. We will also collate those questions and get those to you the following week. This concludes today's webinar. On behalf of Trish and everybody at Cohesive, I want to thank everyone who attended today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thank you very much.